Hi, everyone, and welcome back to your favorite Thursday show. It's not Grey's Anatomy, it's not The Challenge, it's better. It's Survivor CNU recaps. I think it's better. I think Dustin thinks it's better.
Absolutely. I feel like we're next aligned for like that next Emmy for Thursday spots. So we are ready to take it, I think.
We are. We have our outfits already picked out. We're coordinating. Oh, look, see, we were just talking about how the cat will come in at the worst time. That's funny. So welcome. As you can see on your screen, we have one of the players from Survivor CNU, Henry. Welcome, Henry. How are
Hi,
you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We're great. Henry has been one of the more vocal players about getting on here and getting to talk about his game. He is very excited, and we are very excited to see him and hear what he has to say. If you haven't caught up with Survivor CNU, there's still time. It's still aired. It's on their YouTube page. You can go there and just Google Survivor CNU and catch up on the episodes. We just had the finale, so you can see the winner, and all of season 2 is ready for you to binge watch. I've said it a million times. I'll say it a million times more. It is a fantastic college Survivor if you are a fan. The character development was just so fun, and you kind of feel like you are a piece of these characters. So, Henry, tell us, how did you learn about Survivor CNU?
Well, I know that uh, the semester before there was Survivor CNU that was happening, and I knew a few contestants on it, like John Poley. He was in my fraternity, and then I also knew Josie and a few others, and just hearing about how much they got into the game made me realize this is something that seems like it would be a fulfilling thing in my college experience. So I wanted to try it out to see what all the buzz was about. So I noticed that there was another season coming out, and Trevor was talking about it, so I decided to sign up. And despite Trevor saying that I've never seen Survivor before, I have seen many episodes before. Maybe it's just the way that I played the game made him think that I never saw Survivor before, but I really like the game shows, so I decided to sign up. Um, and yeah,
I think that was something you said in
really,
your beginning, very beginning, when we first met you. I would have to go back and look at my notes. I still have them, but I think that was something that you said, where you said that you didn't watch a bunch of the episodes, or you'd only watched a few of the episodes. And so when we were doing our kind of cast assessment, I didn't think that you had watched a bunch of the episodes too. I had put in there that you were like the class president, but you hadn't. So I think that's where it came from. I'm pulling up episode 1, and while we're talking about something else, I'm going to go look and listen to your interview, and I'm going to see if I'm wrong.
Well,
okay.
it's interesting too, because I wrote down that every single thing that Trevor said in episode 1, Henry, you had a huge shocked look on your face. You were like, whoa, what is going on? Like, you just didn't know, like, what to expect, I feel. So maybe you were just playing it up a little bit.
So I think it was because I didn't know how realistic or how similar Survivor, the game, would be in a college setting versus on the actual game show. So when I was able to see similarities, and also just having things happen to you personally, it's kind of exciting.
Now, you said you've watched some of the episodes. Are you like a diehard fan? Do you know like every winner, or just kind of a casual watcher, I guess?
Yeah, I knew how the game worked, and I guess basic strategy. I wouldn't say that I was completely obsessed with watching Survivor, but I knew. I guess I just knew the basics of how things were going. So
Well, speaking of John, you said John kind of pulled you into this. He's actually here with us watching you tonight. So, John, we'll have to say thanks for bringing Henry in. He really made the season interesting to watch. Not like it wouldn't be interesting, but Henry, you really had us puzzled at a lot of places.
You have some of my favorite moments in the early episodes. You always kind of had this confused look on your face, but you were just so polite about it, like nobody could be mad at you. Um, a memory that comes back at that point is when they were doing the word unscramble and you were blindfolded. And in that challenge for the beginning, you like stood at a chair for what to me in watching this felt like 9 hours, but it was probably like 2 minutes. But you were just standing at the chair like, where do you want me to go? Where do you want me to go? And you guys, you had like Sam, the quietest person ever, or somebody very quiet. Maybe it was who was the other curly-haired girl?
Was it
Whatever.
Maggie?
Maggie, who we had never even heard talk through the season, and she was the one calling. But your faces, I took lots of snapshots of your faces just looking confused of what was going on. And I did just listen to the little part that you did for episode 1, because you're actually the first person we meet this season. So it's you and Addie to start off the season, and it's these two very, in my opinion, alpha-esque males that we're getting to see, and I thought it was going to be this huge storyline, and you two end up being like the most polite people of the entire cast, just very polite until you start making these decisions, and then the politeness goes away just a little bit, and it's a little more aggressive, which is the game, which I think is a benefit. But no, you don't say that you haven't watched it. You said that you're drawn for the challenges. So it's funny that you're drawn for the challenges, but you always have that confused face of like, so what was going on in your mind? Do you remember that challenge? I know this was like 2 years ago. Do you remember it? You're blindfolded, you're walking around what looks like their auditorium.
I
You're giving
remember.
instructions.
Yeah, I remember. That was one of the earliest challenges. Maggie, she was calling out. She was trying to be so loud and give instructions, but I could not hear her with my blindfold on, and I didn't know where to go, and I didn't want to run into any chairs or anything. And everyone else was shouting and running all over the place. So I was, yeah, I looked super weird, just like not knowing what to do in that moment. But I'm glad things kind of worked out after that.
It was definitely interesting to see, because I always thought your sight, like your senses, heighten when you take away one. We couldn't hear Maggie either, and we were next to the camera, and I was like, "Is she talking? Like these are the worst. These are the worst instructions I've ever seen." And I don't even think you guys lose that challenge. That's the other part. I think you guys still end up winning.
I think there was a major comeback at the end, though.
Yeah, it was
I'm trying to remember if that was the challenge where we had to scramble letters, and then we were super excited at the end.
Yep.
Yeah. I was really happy to be on Blue Crew, and I know that in that challenge in particular, Hannah, she was able to solve and unscramble the letters and figure it out. And I was trying my best to help out, but she definitely took the lead on that one and brought us the victory. So props to her.
You mentioned Blue Crew. What was your first thoughts about like the tribe you were joining? And before that, did you know anybody going into this? You were at least the student body president, I'd say. So I think you'd probably know of a few people. Did you recognize anyone? And what were your thoughts on your initial team?
Yeah, the only person I knew personally who I've had conversations before in the past was Kristen. So I remember the first time that we all got to the classroom and we got to see who else was playing in the game. I sat next to Kristen and we talked a little bit, but other than that, I didn't know anybody else. At least I've never met them before. I definitely probably passed them by on campus, but it wasn't until I started the game that I spoke to them, as far as I remember.
And then your tribe of Blue Crew.
Oh, right. I thought we clicked very well. I know that there was some talk throughout the season that Colin Bunn wasn't happy about being in Blue Crew. I wasn't aware of that until I started watching these episodes, so I thought that was interesting.
he wasn't aware of it until he started watching the episodes either. So,
but I thought we clicked really well, and I remember me, Maggie, and Hannah. We were a very strong alliance at that point in the game, and I remember there was that one challenge where the clock was ticking and there was the idol sitting in the front of the classroom, and someone could grab the idol if they wanted to, and we talked about what we should do in that situation. But yeah, I thought Blue Crew was a fairly strong, dynamic group.
I mean, a lot of you made it to the end, so there's props for that.
oh, that is true. It was a lot of the Blue Crew that made it to the. You guys won so many challenges in the beginning, though. We didn't even get to. Your group is the last group that we really get to meet, because you were just winning so many of these challenges. And then when we do get to meet you, you do one of the craziest first tribal council, like I want to say it was like day 13 of the game, and everyone's kind of talking how they hadn't talked to you a lot, and you're going to tribal for the first time as a tribe. And I've said this so many times. I'm going to try this in one of my games, but I think it's going to end up making me first boot. And you talk to nobody. You even you're like, my strategy is to talk to nobody. I'm just going to vote for the person who I think did the worst.
Yeah, well, even at day 13, I felt like they really didn't know too many people yet because if we kept winning, there wasn't really any need to strategize. We would just go to the challenges, and if we win them, then we were good until the next time we went to a challenge. But I know in the card game, I won 2 of the points for my team, and I knew that that one memorization game where you had the blanket and then you had to run to the back of the classroom and try to put the objects in order. I remember I got 2 points in that challenge too. I know my second time, it took like it was like an excessive amount of attempts, but I eventually got the point, so I had 2 points for my team. So I guess it was a little cocky, but I had enough confidence that my team members weren't going to vote me out because they thought that I was a strong enough force in the challenges that I could still help and contribute. So at that point, I was thinking more about who contributed the least because I wanted to keep winning challenges and still move forward. So that was kind of my line of thinking. So I know that I guess it sounded like it wasn't a good idea where I didn't talk to anybody, but I guess just the confidence of feeling like I contributed enough for my team to not vote me out is why I didn't feel like I needed to talk to anybody at that point. But then after that, I kind of had a realization I should start talking to people because if we lose, then I'm going to be on the chopping block for sure.
And I think you voted wrong in that. You voted off from everybody else, right?
Yeah, well, if I didn't communicate with anybody, I kind of just voted for what I thought. So I don't remember who I voted for.
Sophie, you said Sophie was the weakest challenge player, and because of that, you just felt that she needed to go. What about Sophie made you think she was a weak challenge player?
Well, later in the game, you saw that Sophie and I we kind of patched things up, and she trusted me enough that she kind of revealed the Colin Ray and Hannah relationship I didn't know beforehand, and her and Kristen, we had a pretty strong alliance. But I think at that point it wasn't based on who they were or anything, but I mean, this was about 1.5 years ago, so I'm trying to recall. Maybe it was because she might have not gotten as many points as everyone else, and maybe I was thinking since she didn't contribute enough, that's why I voted for her. But I honestly can't remember completely if that was 100% accurate. So.
And so when you guys actually go to tribal, you're not even in the blue crew. You swap before you go to the first tribal council. So you wouldn't even have all of these people together. You had, it was you, Addie, Nick, Sophie, Abby, Kristen, Colin, one of them. I don't remember. Bun? No, Ray. Colin Ray.
Okay.
Colin Ray. And so I want to say that this is when, Addie ends up, no, it was Abby. I think Abby ends up leaving this round. I have to go back and look. I'm going to find it. But I just remember, like, you had swapped, you weren't talking to anybody, and you just felt so confident in getting 2 points. Like, damn, they sure did need me. Because you weren't even the number 1 point getter on your team. Nick was. I don't understand. I just don't understand the logic behind it. So, but it works. You didn't go home. And then you end up doing the next thing that I think is hilarious, which is a couple episodes later, is you guys are merging. We're going to skip all of this. You're merging and you're swapping again, and you pull out your buff, and there's a piece of paper in it, and you're like, Trevor. Hey, Trevor, there's an item in my bag.
Yeah, that was a gold moment.
What the heck were you thinking? Why say nothing? Like, why not wait till you can be like, hey, boss,
I know.
do you need this receipt? Do you, like, what was going through your mind?
I think in the moment, I was just so shocked. I kind of, like, totally blanked on how there was everyone else in the room. And I just looked at Trevor and I was like, what is this? Because I totally forgot that you can get clues. Um, so that's kind of why I did that. And then later on, maybe a few minutes later in that episode, you kind of like see me check out what the clue is, and everyone is still there. Um, so everyone seemed like they were oblivious. So that's, I guess that's why I just wanted to see, just because the curiosity was killing me. Um, yeah, that was some gold camera filming at that point. But yeah, I don't think anybody really noticed that I got a hint.
They didn't, which
so-
is that's a thing for them to be like, pay better attention. What the heck are you doing? But it just is one of those things. Backtrack. Abby goes home at the tribal where you vote, Sophie. I just went and looked. So 2 votes went to you, 1 vote on Sophie, and the rest went on to Abby. And we now know why that ended up happening. They wanted to break up. They thought that Nick was too close to her, but that's another story. But in these challenges, and when you're doing these things and you are very oblivious kind of just your surroundings, and you're saying now that you are, because we talked it up the whole season, you just didn't know the show. You didn't know the game, you didn't know, and so it's new, and so you're in it and you're excited, but now you're saying you do know the show. I don't know. What did you think was in there to go Trevor? Did you think it was just a mistake that something was in there, or
I was just shocked that I was the one who got the clue out of everyone else, because everyone else opened up their bags and only their buff was there. But I opened up my bag and there was also the clue, and I was like, this seems a little off. Why is there that for me? So I guess it was just my first instinct was to ask Trevor because he was right there. But props to Trevor for keeping that on the down low and not really like revealing that and like making that a big deal for everyone else to take notice of that. So I credit him for helping me out there, I guess unintentionally. But yeah, I was just completely shocked that was even happening. So that's kind of why I did that. So
it was very funny to see. Trevor. So
Now, up to that point, we have seen some really like big players and really people get highly invested into this. Henry, we don't see a ton of confessionals from you at this point too, so we're really wondering, like, what was your gameplay during that? Like maybe after the swap, up to the merge, because we don't really see you making a lot of decisions, getting into conversations with some people. Are you just sliding through, or what were we missing from you?
yeah, well, originally I would say the season kind of, I would categorize the season in 2 parts. The first part was me more focused on the competitions and trying to win those and helping my team until there was the tribe swaps and then eventually the merge. And I felt like if I was winning, I didn't really need to communicate with people. And also, while we were moving through the season and we were doing all these challenges and eventually tribal councils and all of that, I started to get to know people a little bit better. And I wanted to be a little bit more standoffish just because I wanted to see how people made their decisions and who I could trust and who I shouldn't trust and who is drawn to certain people. So I was kind of more standoffish just because I don't want to be tied down to anybody in particular. And I mean, that's why eventually you see where there's one side of the contestants, then the other side of contestants, and then there's me, and then there's Nick. And well, you guys saw how that went, where I convinced both sides that I was in an alliance with them, and the way that I really got to sell myself was using Nick to, I guess, prove that I was part of their alliance, because I was saying that this is the person I'm going to vote for, and I did. And I felt so bad for Nick because he definitely did not deserve that, and he definitely should have gone farther in the season. But it was the opportunity was there, and he wasn't showing up to tribal council. If he showed up to tribal council that night, I definitely would have felt a whole lot worse about everything. But since
you
he
still would
wasn't
have
there,
did it.
potentially, but
You put in all the work before you knew he wasn't going to be there.
yeah, so it made it a whole lot easier that night when he happened to not show up. But my apologies to Nick for sure, because he definitely did not deserve that.
But really, that's the move that really like propels you through the season, I think. Like, you really stepped it up, and that was the only person that you didn't have an alliance with. Like, out of these other 8 people, you had already talked to them and kind of one-on-one built something. And really, you had to convince, because Nick really wasn't on anybody's radar at that time, per se. And you really put in the legwork to be like, we have to get Nick out. Oh, Nick sounds like a great choice. So that we really see you step up in that episode, Henry, and kind of rally all the troops, per se.
Yeah, and I think that tribal council I had, where it was either me or Addie, that was kind of the light switch where I realized, all right, now it's serious, where I really need to start talking to people and forming some sort of trust. And I know you guys talked about this a lot this season, where I made a case where I didn't lie to anybody up until the Nick vote or until the Lily vote. And I was trying to make that case for the longest time. And I was trying to actually be completely truthful up until that point. But I knew that right when the Lily vote happened, then that story is completely gone. Then people knew that I was going to start lying at that point, because I can't hold that story any longer. Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about all of this. That was a lot. That's so much that we just threw into like this last 4 minutes. So I'm gonna recap a little bit for the viewers who haven't seen the episode. So up until this point, there are 2 competing alliances that are formed because they've been on 3 tribes. They did a swap. There was 2 tribes for a little bit, but now they've merged, and there's 2 very distinct separate alliances. And what it looks like is we have some female leads who are in charge of, not necessarily, but in my mind, there's these 2 queens, and they have this family kind of forming around them. And so you have Team Hannah and you have Team Lily. Not really what it is. They have their own thing, but I think you have Red. I always forget
Red
it.
Scare and Pinky Pack.
Yep, Red Scare. I'm like, it's always the communist reference that I never remember. So you have Red Scare and the Pinky Pack, both color names, which is funny that they're going against each other. And you put it in there. And you have Henry and Nick, who's not really in either one of them, but he's working with both, like, players from each individually. And so that's where I think Nick is, like, in the best spot of the game. He's not in either alliance, so he shouldn't be targeted by either alliance. They should be using him for a vote, which then comes in Mr. Henry, who's like, wait, I'm also not truly in one. I mean, I am, but they don't know that I am yet. So let me take out the only other player in this game who's not in one of these alliances, so I can be the middleman for literally 1 round. And then the next round, I'm going to have to pray somebody messes up so big that like everybody's voting them, because otherwise you have to pick a side. And so the part that's beneficial for being this middle or this swing vote is when you can swing and you can kind of never make both sides very powerful. You're always balancing them out, right? So they're always going at each other because nobody ever has the numbers. When you were making these decisions, were you thinking 2-3 rounds ahead, or were you thinking, whoa, the only other quiet guy like just got voted out? Addie was a beast. Well, how did he leave? I'm next. So let me just make up 1 more round. Or were you going, okay, if I get rid of Nick, then I can pick a side? Were you mapping it out?
Yeah. At that point, I was thinking strategy for the next few rounds, because I was thinking, if I take out Nick, then everyone's going to think that I'm on their side because we all voted for Nick. And hopefully everyone thinks it's just a coincidence that the other side wanted to get Nick out too. Because Nick I feel bad for Nick, because that left him with the impression that everyone did not like him because everyone voted for him, but that wasn't the case at all. It was definitely me trying to work things. But I knew that with me being the middleman for the next round, whichever I could have voted for, or I guess I'm trying to remember, I got one side to vote for Kristen and the other side to vote for Lily. So I finally got to the point where I'm thinking, am I going to vote for Lily and stay with this alliance, and we'll have the numbers there, or do I vote for Kristen and have this alliance? And I knew that either way I voted, I would be on the majority for the next round. So I felt like I was pretty safe at that point in the game, and I felt like my alliances were fairly strong.
So then the next question is, you're in this middle role, and now at this point, everybody wants to work with you. They think they need you, especially because it's going to be 9-4, right? They need you 4-4, and you're the middle, and they're like, oh, well, it's not because it's 5-4. Henry's with us. And the entire game, like anytime we heard you talk, you're like, I'm not lying to anyone. I'm going to go through and I'm going to play this very honest game. And I've talked about this a lot because you can play an honest game. You can. There's people who've done it. I've done it. Not always, but you can do it. And you can go through an entire game without telling a lie. And you can tell people, hey, I'm voting you out. Or no, right now, I think that it's better for my game to vote this way. I don't see Lily isn't benefiting my game. She's closer to too many other people. But that's not what you were doing. In fact, you were spending hours with these people, reassuring them, telling them, no, I'm with you, no, I'm with you, no, I'm with you, believe me, believe me, believe me. What was the point of that? Because one, at this point, you've literally told everybody in the game you have an idol. So nobody is going to write down your name. You lost trust with the people who told you don't tell everybody in the game that you have an idol. And now you're to the point where you're like, hey, Dustyn, I promise you I'm not voting you out. I haven't told a whole lie this game. As you're like writing his name down in front of him. What was the thought process behind that? Why keep it up so long into Tribal?
I wanted to feel confident that they were going to vote the way that they were going to. I think there was definitely a shift of me having a very honest game and me telling the truth the whole entire way up. But then there was a point where I definitely started, I feel like with the dynamic of how everyone worked, it seemed like there had to be, at least I guess the only way that I saw of moving forward was to manipulate and backstab and lie. I felt like, whenever I told everyone or that I had an idol, I was doing that for the fact that I wanted to build their trust in me saying to them that I had an idol. Number one, built the trust, and then number two, reassured me that they weren't going to vote for me because they knew that I had an idol. So that's kind of why I did that. And I may have told other people in the show. I wasn't going to tell other people, but the only way that I felt like I could build the trust and not be voted out was to tell everybody I had an idol. But yeah, that was a completely opposite strategy of Hannah, where Hannah had her idol the whole entire time, and I think only Colin Ray knew for almost the whole way until the second to last round, because I don't even think Shaggy knew that Hannah had her idol when Leah went home. So yeah.
So looking back, and you've watched all these episodes, you've watched it. Whose strategy do you think is better? Do you think you should tell everyone or tell nobody?
I think Hannah's strategy of not telling anybody was better, because you could keep more of an honest game. But also, if you started to have a feeling that people were going to vote for you, you always had that in your back pocket. And I mean, you saw that my eventual end was that I was the boy who cried wolf one too many times, and I was saying I was going to play my idol, and I didn't. So yeah, with everyone else being oblivious of having an idol, I think that was a better strategy. So I think that was smart of Hannah to do.
I mean, when you're talking to people, you can tell when somebody is voting for, like, you have an inkling. I don't think anyone is truly, maybe Addie was blindsided out of the game when he went. I think he went a little too soon. Nick was probably blindsided because he literally wasn't there, but he had to know people weren't talking to him, and things just kind of shift from when you're in the know to when you're not in the know, right? Like it cools off for you. So in saying this, well, I think I'm going to play my idol this round. I mean, they called you out on it. Leah actually called you out on it the first time that you did it. Shaggy was just too scared to go home to pull the trigger. But then the next time it happened, you didn't have any idea that you were getting votes. Like nothing said to you, ooh, this is different this time. They're probably like, Hannah's not talking to me as much as she normally does. Or Colin Ray isn't reassuring me that this is the vote. You had no idea.
The tribal that I got voted out in. Yeah. So the very night before, it was either the night before or 2 nights before. The alliance that I thought I was in with Hannah, Colin, Kristen, we all met at one of the residence halls because Hannah was working a shift, and we went over a game plan and we talked about our strategy and everything. And they reassured me multiple times that I was totally safe, and I was definitely frustrated beforehand with the challenge because of them not getting off of the lamps or the lampposts, and I just thought that was super fishy. And
I mean, sometimes people hand you a sign and they go, "Hey, here." I think the other part, you showed your cards and not trusting them because let's be real. And if you watch the episodes, I called it out on two. You were like a baby about it. You're like, "Nope, it's gonna be my way or it doesn't work." You're trying to cut a deal with people to build trust to get your alliance back together. It can't just be your way. There has to be give and take because you both didn't have trust for one another at this point. They had reason to suspect that you wouldn't trust them, and you had reason to not trust them because they just blindsided you.
yeah,
So you have two options in this. Be like, yeah, I'll build trust with you again, but I'm gonna win immunity. So, and you were even saying I can do this all night. So then just do it all night and then make them build trust with you, right? Because they don't have anywhere to go after that. If
Yeah,
the only person that go ahead.
Like Shaggy was like, Henry said he could have lasted forever. So Shaggy was confused why you didn't last longer too, and you took that deal.
yeah. Well, so the tribal council before the one that I got voted out in, that was the backstabbing, and I was a little confused, but Hannah, she got me so convinced that everything was okay still, and I don't remember the reasoning of what she said, but it sounded like it made sense of why she did what she did, and she was explaining to me the reasons of why she couldn't tell me why she did what she did. I don't remember what it was, but they got me so convinced that everything was going to be okay, and thinking that me, Colin, Hannah, and Kristen were still in an alliance. I still had enough trust in them that we were all on the lamppost and we were still talking, and I wanted to trust them, but I guess I had enough trust with them, but I guess there was a little bit of a shady spot. But I think I looked past that because I just wanted to. I think with my idol in hand, that kind of reassured me a little bit because I was thinking, there's no way they're going to vote me out still because I have the idol and they think that I'm going to play it. And all the tribal councils beforehand, I kept saying I was going to play the idol, so they're probably writing me off because they're like, well, he may play his idol, so let's not vote for him. So those are kind of the reasons of, I guess, me trusting Colin and Hannah enough still, and then me having my idol. I was definitely blindsided whenever I got voted out. I was, and
Maybe
then
see
what?
that you're blindsided because you should have played the item. But if you're hearing yourself talk right now, right? Like you're hearing what you're saying. Yeah, I didn't have trust for them anymore. Yeah, I was a little suspicious of the things that they were saying. Yeah, Hannah outwitted me. She got me to believe that I was gonna be okay. My idol was only good for one more round, and so I was just gonna save it. All of these things, at what point did you not just go, let me just stand up and make sure? Because again, if Colin and Hannah are voting you right now, right? You, Kristen, and Sophie are taking out either Leah or Shaggy with this idol. You put the numbers back at your side as long as you're safe and they didn't vote one of the other three. Literally, it's a numbers game. And I know that you know this because you've talked about it. So at what point did you go, oh man, this is sus. This is weird. Maybe I should play my idol. You never thought that.
I have to be honest, I did not know the Shaggy and Hannah alliance until I watched the episodes. So that was complete. Like even after the season, I had no idea. So, and I thought that we were so against Shaggy, and well, I thought that Shaggy hated me so much because of me voting for Lily, and with me being in alliance with Hannah and Colin, there would be no way that Shaggy would want to be in alliance with them, and that's why I never thought about how he was like there could be a secret alliance of trying to backstab me. Um, and then also I was thinking this was kind of in-depth thinking, but if I don't even know if they started considering this, but if me going onto the jury, how do I influence the other jury members in the final voting? Because the two people who voted for Hannah, if I remember correctly, are Colin Bunn and Nick. And then the other five people voted for Shaggy. And I knew that me, Kristen, and Sophie were in an alliance, and we were going to vote one way. And because of knowing that I just got backstabbed so bad by Hannah, I really wanted to push for Shaggy, so I got those two on board. And then I was able to convince Leah, and I know Leah was on the fence because she was kind of angry at Shaggy. But
I'm going to cut you off. So do you
Yeah, go
think
ahead.
Shaggy played a better game than Hannah? Or were you just pissed off that Hannah outplayed you, tricked you into being not playing your idol, and then took away literally the spirit of the whole flippin' game is to outwit, outplay, outsmart. You're talking right now. She outwitted you. She made you think you were safe. You literally flipped back and forth on a line. So nobody had any reason to trust you because of your actions. You see that, right? Like, you're not innocent in this. You're
Yeah,
not.
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
as long as you
So
can see that, like, you're not, like, you did tell lies. You weren't being truthful. You told Hannah that you guys were going to go really far in the end together, but you were saying that to, like, 9 other people. It went back to her. She doesn't have any reason to trust what you're saying. And then she did what she had to do to play the game. So she outwits you. She outplays you and outlasts you. But you think that Shaggy's the one who should win for...
So the reason why I thought Shaggy should win, and I listened to the people on the jury of what their line of thinking was, but I thought that with Colin Ray, with Hannah using Colin Ray throughout the whole entire game, it was actually really impressive that both of them were in the final three. But I thought that she had a little bit of leverage there where she could use him in ways if she wanted to. But for Shaggy, I thought that he deserved to be the Survivor champion because he literally survived. Like he was on death row. He thought he was going to go out many times, especially when the pinky pack was crumbling. But somehow he found his way to maneuver and get through to the end. And with me saying that I never knew that his alliance with Hannah was happening until I started watching the episodes, I just felt like there was enough. I guess he just played his cards in the best way possible.
Hannah was
His
also
situation.
part of the alliance that you didn't know about at the end. How does Shaggy get credit for it, but Hannah doesn't? Like, that doesn't... I mean, it doesn't even matter. I'm not saying Shaggy's not an excellent winner because I do... Like, it's like... But what you're saying is, your words, I was pissed off. They should have thought about how I was going to act in the jury. And then I used my persuasive behavior to turn the jury against Hannah because she didn't do what I wanted and she voted me out of the game. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and also I wanted a comeback, or I thought the comeback story of Shaggy, he was going to be out completely, and he was able to keep going and surviving. I thought, I guess my personal opinion was the champion of Survivor has the ability to survive, even when it looks like his back is against the wall, and being able to do that, I
That's on
thought
the
was
show,
more
like
impressive.
surviving in the woods, survive with the elements. That's not surviving at Survivor CNU campus.
Like not being like not getting voted off each time. I just thought that was more impressive than Hannah using. I guess my line of thinking was with Colin Ray. I thought there was she had a little bit of an advantage where Shaggy he needed to make moves, and he was saying it in the last episode where he got the right alliances in order to stay alive and move to the next tribal council. So
He did do that. But y'all were aware of Colin Ray and Hannah. you specifically, Henry, asked for a final 3 deal with Colin, Ray, and Hannah round 1 of the merge. So you're aware of their advantage that they have. You're doing nothing about it. You don't care because you're using a 2-for-1 deal in your behalf. And the only time that you get upset about it is when it doesn't go your way, which you also just said you had all the signs for. There's no logical reason with everything that you said that you don't play your idol right now.
I know.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
I just felt like I had enough confidence in Hannah that I didn't need to play my idol, and that's why I didn't for that particular round. And afterwards, I was walking back to my residence hall, and like I'm pretty sure there was smoke coming out of my ears because I was so angry with the situation, and I was thinking I'm so stupid for not seeing this beforehand.
Well, the next thing that go ahead.
Really goes into the jury management too. Like Hannah and Colin Ray didn't need to spend 2 hours at the resident hall reassuring you and Kristen that they were on your side. Like that's a lot of work to build up for a lie that they know they're going to pull off. Even if they didn't know that lie was coming, they had the choice at that time whether to vote you or say vote Shaggy or Leah as well. So they put in a lot of time making up that lie.
So let's talk about that. So you're at Final Tribal Council. You said that you're influencing a lot of the jury's decision making, but that's not the part of the Final Tribal Council that we get to see. In fact, what we get to see for what footage is available is you actually like sleeping. You're on your phone. You're not paying attention. You're disengaged. And I like why? What was going on what was going on for that to be your reaction?
I think at that point I had already made my decision and I was listening to what they had to say, but I felt like there was nothing that they said in that whenever they made their cases that swayed in my decision a different way. And
you should sleep and not listen to it. I just like, do you know how I was giving slack because I didn't think you would watch the show. That's really like I thought a lot of the things that you did were because you hadn't watched the show, but now you're to the point where it's like you have watched the show. You are like in student president candidacy, so you talk, public speak all the time. You give your opinions. How would you feel? Tables were flipped and you were giving a speech for somebody to hear what you had to say, and the crowd was sleeping. How would you feel? Like, how would you feel?
I would not like it. No.
Yeah. So I hope that you had at least a chance to talk to Hannah on Colin Ray after this and be like, hey, I was doing it for me because I was mad. Sorry, it's not a reflection on you. It's more a reflection on myself and how I handled this scenario. Because you did ultimately sign up to play the game for it here. And that, being voted out, being lied to, being backstabbed, all of that things are part of the game that we're aware of. Do you have to do that? No, but it's what ended up happening in this kind of scenario. But that is what we get to see. So I just want you had been asking to be able to share your side of the story. It was just you weren't interested in being there? Like, why even show up? Just text Trevor your answer then.
Well, there were 7 other people that voted, or no, there was 5 people that voted for Shaggy and 2 people that voted for Hannah. So I was not the only one who eventually made up my mind to.
You literally just told me that you swayed 4 of those people to vote your way.
I definitely tried to, yeah, just to have my view of the situation heard. But ultimately, each person they voted for Shaggy by themselves, like when they went up the steps and voted wrote his name down. So yeah, but like I said, I thought that he played a good game just because when no one thought that he was going to be moving forward, he kept surviving, and I thought I personally thought that was more impressive than the manipulation aspect. So that's why I voted for Shaggy. I just felt like the Survivor champion had the ability to survive.
Shaggy is an excellent winner. I don't disagree with that. I think he played a great game. It's more so of your input. You're saying you wanted your side heard. That's what your vote's for. Influencing and yeah, I'm just really surprised that that's your intake on it. But I'm gonna get a picture up here. You're literally sleeping at this final tribal council. Like you're in the front row sleeping.
I mean, we start to see, like, at the beginning of this whole show, Henry's really, like, the nice guy, the really, like, charming speaker and whatnot. And by the end, this is just kind of how we end up with Henry. Like, it kind of made it full circle, I guess.
Yeah, I would say that the show ultimately it took a lot out of me, especially emotionally. And I don't remember the time between me getting voted out and me or us going to the final tribal council. But with how much it affected me emotionally whenever I got voted out, I needed some time, and I definitely needed some time to just step away from Survivor and think about other things. Just because I don't remember how many days I was in it, but it was quite a long time. I would say like 1 or 2 months, and I invested a lot into it. And knowing I got to just a certain point, I just felt like I needed to step back and reevaluate things. But yeah.
Would you ever play again?
I don't think I would. Um, Not because it it rubbed me the wrong way of getting voted out, but also I have to understand that uh, there were so many people who got voted out. That's the point of Survivor, and I just felt very guilty of doing all of the lying and the backstabbing and trying to manipulate people and looking people directly in the eyes and saying I'm going to do one thing and doing something completely different. Um, but I know, like Destiny said, that you don't have to play that a game like that. You can be a completely honest player and go through that the whole game. Um, but I don't know. I definitely do like the competition aspect of things and how there's all there's games and obstacle courses and all of that and forming those relationships. But I definitely felt guilty about all of the lying and the backstabbing for sure.
Now, after that final tribal council, and now that you've had some, of course, time to reflect on the whole experience, have you moved on from that? Can you look back at this as a positive experience now? Have you tried to step things up from when we see you last at the tribal?
Yeah, I would definitely say so because I was able to form a lot of strong relationships, and there's still the CNU Survivor and Deepwater group chat that we have, um, and getting to meet a lot of these really great people. I'm really thankful that I got to be involved with something like that where. At that time I was a senior and there were even freshmen who were playing the game, and being able to have friendships and being involved with people like that, I was really thankful for.
Do you talk to any of them still?
Yeah, I was talking with Kristen, or I would give her my input of just how each episode was, just and my thoughts about things. Um, And I thought that Trevor did an excellent job, and him and Colin did an excellent job throughout the season of writing the storylines and making the edits, and showcasing us as characters in this game. And I know it's Trevor's birthday tomorrow, so happy early birthday to him. Um, so yeah.
What was one of your biggest surprises that you said you and Kristen were trying to comparing the episodes? What did you message her and was like, I can't believe that just happened, Kristen? Or what was the biggest moment you two had?
I have to look back, but I think one of the biggest shocks I had was the Shaggy Hannah alliance. I was completely shocked. I also was shocked about the Hannah idol, how she held it for such a long time without anybody knowing. Um,
How
And then
did she feel when you said that you didn't trust her and wanted to vote her out? When you're like,
Wait.
she wasn't honest with me. I'm gonna vote her and Sophie out.
wait, say that again. Sorry.
You in one of the episodes when you were very close to Hannah and you wanted Sophie and Kristen to go because they had been dishonest with you. Did she take it as like, okay, or was she like, you silly?
I think she was she was willing to work with me and hear me out and I think at that point in the game, yeah, I
I
guess
mean, watching it back now, like I don't think she had any idea that you ever said those things. So was she like laughing about it, or like, what do you mean? Like, what is? You said you talked about the game, so was she just like, oh,
yeah, everything is lighthearted, yeah,
okay,
and everything was fine, yeah. But yeah, I remember there was the Kristen and Sophie. They voted for someone, and I wasn't expecting them to vote for them. And I think it was almost like a journey where you had certain alliances, and you were um, yeah, you were alliance with some people at one point in the game, but then you could be completely enemies at a different part of the game, like the Shaggy Hannah incident. Like they were completely opposites, and then they came together. And I think that at different stages of the game, you viewed different characters differently depending on the situation. So looking back on it now, I think we all understand because it was a certain point in the game why we did what we did.
for sure. Is there anything you want to add?
Um,
Here's your time. You wanted your voice heard. Give it to us. What is
Clear
it?
the air.
Clear the air. What do you want to say, Henry? What is it?
well, I appreciate Dustin for picking me as the winner.
I
But-
did. I remember back then. Yeah.
But
I did not. I think I picked Shaggy, actually. Do I get a cookie or something out of that?
but
I thought you picked Nick.
Oh, maybe I did pick Nick. I'll have to go back and watch. I picked somebody cool.
Curious.
Not that you're not cool, Henry. I just remember that came out wrong. I'll have to go watch.
But that was everything. But I wanted to just thank everybody involved in the game and thank Trevor for making this possible. He dedicated so much of his college experience in doing this, where he did multiple seasons, and being able to pass the torch down to Alex and having it continue. I think that's super cool that he was able to start something. Him and Colin were able to start something that is continuing after them, after they leave college. So I'm just thankful that I was able to be part of it a little bit. So yeah.
Yep. Colin and Trevor have done a fantastic job with Survivor CNU. They are getting ready up for their third season, and it will be coming. I want to say he said December, so in the winter sometime. I won't put a timeline on them. Well, actually, maybe we will. We'll make them hurry it up a little bit. Hey, we released it. It'll be here. So you got to get our episodes out. So stay tuned so you can see more Survivor CNU. They have a ton of seasons already filmed. They're just editing it, so they have a ton of content getting ready to come our way. If you don't already follow them on Facebook, Twitter, or you can follow them on Live Reality Games, and you can get all of your recaps here, because we would love to share with you this Survivor CNU journey. They do a fantastic job with character development. And if you learned anything from watching Survivor CNU this season, there's 2 takeaways. Never eat at Tribal, and don't fall asleep at Final Tribal Council. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, thank you so much, Henry, for coming in and sharing your side of the story. Hopefully you can talk to Hannah and tell her you didn't mean to tune her out at the end, because I think that was a little mean. I know it was a long time ago, but I would still be upset about it. So maybe just send her a text message. Hey, perspective. Sorry about that. Don't vote me out next time. But I'll listen to you in the future when you're talking. And hopefully you guys have talked.
Yeah, well, yeah, I thought it was very interesting how you got your point of view of the game and what you guys thought, because being in the game itself versus being on the sidelines and just watching it in third person, I would say is very, very different. And I know that by the way that Colin and Trevor were able to write the storyline, definitely persuaded your point of view of how you saw things and how you saw each one of us as characters.
I mean, yeah, that's part of. I own that. I say all the time, it's very easy for me to say, "Why are you doing that?" Or here's what I would do in those scenarios. I think the benefit of like the podcasters that are on live reality games, not only am I a viewer and a fan of it, I play these games. So it's not like I'm mouthy and very opinionated, but it's not like I've never been in that situation. I know what you went through. I know what it feels to sit at trial counsel. I've been through and had some not great moments. But I think the best part that you can do from that is see yourself, because what a lot of times what our perception is of a scenario isn't what other people are taking in as the scenario. And so when you see it back on film, the situation, you're like, whoa, that's how I came across, or oh my goodness, that's what I look like. Which is a lot of why I resonate with Sophie so much. I talk so much about how Sophie looks so mean all the time, but then you hear her talk and you're like, oh my gosh, it's just her face. I have the very similar problem. And so I think that the best thing you can do is, yes, our view of the season is definitely different because we were able to see it through a lens of an edited camera where you were there in live. But you have your side, they have their side, and we have our side, and somewhere in the middle is the truth. And so just taking ownership and understanding of all parts of the side and just being like, yeah, that's what I did, sorry about it, versus not doing that. I think that your experience will just be a little bit different, just taking it all in. And are you still in the political career? Are you still focusing on student government or other government work?
No, I've graduated at this point. So stepping away from CNU after being there for 4 years, it's a new phase of life for me. But I remember you mentioning a few times about like advocating for vending machines, and I didn't do any of that. And it wasn't like we were taking political views like Republican or Democrat or anything like that. It was more just like betterment of students, and I guess, yeah. But student government, I was really thankful for being a part of that as well. But whenever people think of student body president, they think of political people, where they're. I remember Destiny saying one or two episodes that being a politician, you're supposed to lie and you're supposed to.
That's not what I said, but you do lie. That is the political nature. It's a stereotype. It is.
Yeah.
It is a cultural stereotype. So I apologize if I hurt your feelings. I also was student body president. I also went into a political field. I know, like, I was an electoral college candidate for my. Like,
you should have mentioned that you were.
It wasn't about me, but I advocated for vending machines, and I advocated for handicap ramps, and I advocated for all of our students to take American Sign Language. Like, we're making, like, yes, it was lighthearted jokes or talking about it, but it's an in-depth look of what we think from here, of what your personality is or why this is the way it is. And as politicians do, which is what we got to see of you, they do notoriously make white lie or simple promises that they don't actually have the ability to follow through with. Similar to electoral college, where if you're familiar with it, I get told who to vote for. It's not actually even my vote. I have to vote for what the majority of my district wanted. And right. I can't even go up there and be like, here's my vote, but my vote's the only one that counts because that's what I was elected in to do. So, yes. Do I think that your job is to walk around all day and be like, hey, looking good, Steve, vending machine over there, by tomorrow, I got you, boss. Oh, you want to drop that class? Dude, I got you. I ain't freaking doing that. No, that is not what I think you are doing. That's not what I actually think a college student body president is doing. But every place is different, and that is what we got to see of you. That is what we heard about you. That is what we got to see. So,
yeah, that is true.
And just a little shout out for some experience that Henry, you can feel free and give us your take on Destiny. She was just released on the cast of Ascendance Live, happening sometime. I don't remember when Nicole said it was going to air, but this is one of Destiny's live games that she has played, and the season is coming out soon, Henry. So if you want to get on board we can talk to see how Destiny does in Ascendance.
Don't do it, Henry. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't bring Henry on the cast to be able to talk about my gameplay. Oh, no, 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 no.
I'm kind of interested now. Now that you mention it.
Can't he review, like, Shady Survivor? Let's have episodes of that.
Well, once again, thank you, Henry, for coming on tonight. And thanks again, Destiny, for recapping all these fantastic episodes of Survivor CNU here. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, well, I just appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me about the season, just because following along in the season and then just seeing how everything went down and then hearing your all perspectives. I just wanted to have the chance to be able to talk to you guys. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Until next time, we are going to have another in-depth interview with who happens to be, no shocker and no surprise, my favorite cast member of Survivor CNU. So you guys can all guess on who you think we're going to be talking to later. It'll be coming hopefully in the next week or so. So we look forward to talking to you and then hopefully doing some other fun Survivor CNU spoilers. We won't give too much away, but thank you everyone who's watching and we look forward to next time.
Thanks.